Yes, indeed. It's the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim. Okay, some of you may know me as evil Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie. But tonight I'm Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The TV shows and the movies that made us feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And I got one tonight. Now, this is awesome. I'm trying to get this guy in for ages. He's been watching the show. I know him. And we did have him on with everyone else when we had the show about Archie and Mehitable, the world of Archie and Mehitable. And we had on Moosie because he's directing it, but we had the whole cast. We now have Moosie by himself because he has an entire career and like massive, huge, enormous body of work and things to talk about. So yes, finally on my show, welcome Moosie Drier.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we don't need those. We don't need those other people. We can do this.
Okay, I don't even remember when I first met you because it's just kind of like known you for forever.
Right.
But then also as child actors growing up in Hollywood and being on everything, it's like, oh, look, it was Moosie. That Moosie child is on that thing. So seeing you and everything, the thing that, and I did read about it actually, and there's between Wikipedia and all the things, but everyone I'm sure, why is your name Moosie? What is the origin of the name Moosie?
Why, how unusual for anyone to ask me that. You're the first person.
I can't imagine this has not come up, but I've never seen an interview. It's like, okay, what did Moosie say? And then there's some story, it's a sports reference, but I'm like, is that even true? I have no idea.
It is actually. So I originally was supposed to be Gary Drier. That my parents were going to name me after Gary's a decent name. It would have been easier on me in public school. But I was named Moosie after a baseball player named Moose Skowron. Bill Moose Skowron played for the Yankees. My father was his friend, and it's just kind of crazy. So I never met my dad. So he kind of, when I was a baby, took off. That's a whole nother podcast. And my mom raised four of us, took us out to California from Chicago and raised us out here. And even before she put me into show business, she legally had my name changed to Moosie. I don't know if it was some sort of revenge against my dad or what. I don't know. So it's crazy because even with my aunts and uncles and along with my mother, I've heard conflicting stories throughout. Really? Yeah. So I grew up with that name, when I was really
the Bill Moose Skowron, whatever that makes sense. This athlete, and he knew him. Moosie.
Yeah.
But then if he was gone, your dad wasn't there to say, yes, this is my kid Moosie after my friend. Then kind of what's the point? So how did that? Yeah. Okay, I see. It was all very weird.
Then why did I grow up with Moosie on my driver's license, passport, birth certificate?
As opposed to like Gary Moosie as the nickname, middle name thing.
Yeah, exactly. But she legally changed it when I was an infant, even a few years before she even came to California and put me in show business. Because it seems like, I think the obvious guess would be like, oh, your mom knew you'd be a child actor and we'll do some crazy name to, maybe it'll help you stand out or something like that. But the real question I would have for me, if I were going to ask me, is why didn't I ever just change it? I'm a grown up.
I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, you're a grown man. You could say Moose and Moose instead of Moosie. With child actors, especially boys, there was an awful lot of, Scooter and Bobby and Billy. What was it? Rusty. How many kids were named Rusty?
There was Rusty.
And it was big on the nickname thing. Yeah. So I thought it was like one of those, Yeah.
There was Tiger Williams and Sparky Marcus.
Yep.
And then one boy, Tina Yother's brother was Poindexter. He just had the one name, Poindexter. I don't know if you remember him.
Oh dear.
Kind of looked like Robbie Wrist. He kind of had straight blonde hair and the glasses. So
that would work for that. Did he keep that name?
No, actually, I don't know, because he didn't stick around in show business. He was one of the same ones who actually did something else for a living. Okay.
So you kept Moosie though. You were in fact a grown actual person, and you kept Moosie, which weirdly works for you. But yeah, why?
Well, the people around me my whole life, like whenever I would bring it up, I just got the yeah, well, I'm never gonna call you anything different. Like, don't even bother with us. I grew up with a pack of boys, and girls, but like these guys, my roommates, my God, to a certain age, like just out of high school, like they're like, we're never gonna call you anything else. So why, I'm like, well, it isn't for you guys. It's for like my life, but
Right, I thought it would be Gary, but yeah, it's true.
yeah,
They've been calling it the whole. So it stuck. It just stuck. Once they got used to calling you Moosie, that was it.
yeah. Maybe when I'm even older and all gray and shrivelly, I'll be like Joe or something.
Well, you could also, I mean, you could change it to the adult Moose Drier.
Well, more
Moose.
people call me Moose than Moosey,
They
by the
do call you
way.
Moose.
Yeah.
So we Moose. That makes
Hey,
sense.
Moose. Yeah.
But it worked. It totally worked because you worked like a fiend as a kid.
Yeah.
And you were on Laughing, and we talked about the before. I said Laughing. Oh my
Uh,
God, jealous. Okay, you were on Laughing for like multiple. You were like the kid on Laughing. I guess the
yeah.
girl with that, and you were hilarious. And that was absolutely. I was like, oh man, there's the gig. There's he's on Laughing, and you had a type. We all as a child actor, you hope to be like a certain type, and you work with it. You had a thing. You had the hat, the little like
Yeah.
new boy cap thing, and you had a very interesting voice when you were a kid. And I don't know, like you just had a cold that day when you did some of the commercials where you had this cute little like little scratchy like adenoidal kind of like thing going on, and it was like absolutely adorable, and it worked. People went, "Oh, Moosie," and he has that cute voice and the thing. So it was like a real. This is what he does. Let's
Yeah.
bring in
Yeah.
Moosie with the voice.
Yeah. That definitely wasn't a voice I put on. Adenoidal is a great way of putting that because, well, what happened was, so I always sounded nasally, you know?
I was one of the commercials you didn't, but then I think it was like the soup one. I was like, wow, that there it is. That's that nasally thing. That's so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just how I sounded. And then when I got my, so back years ago when you got your tonsils out, they would take your adenoids out, and that happened, and it had changed that.
Oh,
So
so it actually was an ad. You're
yes,
adenoids,
that's why I'm
like
saying
for
yeah.
real.
No, I didn't walk around with a perpetual cold all the time. No,
Or you didn't meet with a marketing team and say, could you talk like that in all the commercials? Because it's like amazing. No.
right. No, no. I just had this crazy voice. I don't know. I don't know. It worked, I guess, because I did a lot of work when I was a kid.
Yeah, and it did seem to be a time, like I said, a lot of child actor roles. I mean, that was one of the things that I, as a kid, drove me crazy. There was certain cliches. There were certain things like you always seemed to be. We were always asked to play sort of younger than ourselves. These sort of like very sweet and I think that's why I was so happy, when I got Nellie Olson because I'd gone to so many auditions of where I was to be a nice, very little girl. Yes, mother, because he had the blonde hair, the blue eyes, and it was a little. I looked like a Barbie doll, so of course they'd call me in. Oh, you'd be the sweet child. I was like, boring, boring. And then I came in and read for Nellie, who was just like saying all these terrible things, whatever came into her head. And I was like, oh, thank heavens. Um, so there
What
were
a
types,
dream
and you
role.
were the tough little boy in the hat type. And whether you liked it or not, it worked like gangbusters, and you were an absolutely bloody everything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty fortunate that I got to have that past. I don't have any. I don't look back with resentment or anything about the industry, about being a former child actor. And then, so when I grew up, I still did some acting into my adult period before I got into the Directors Guild. But I somehow got into a lot of. I was like the bad guy on, Hunter and things like that. I was like the
Yeah,
coach
she was
killer,
like
the
troubled. You like
rapist.
he started a cute little boy, and then there was like this like troubled teen
I
thing
know.
happening in all these TV
Oh,
movies. Like, and again, jealous because like when we talk, the grass is always greener. Those of
right.
us on a series were like, ah, man, if it wasn't a series, I barely have time. I could do like maybe one TV movie, and they'd have to shoot it in February. And whereas these other kids, oh man, they're in everything. They're in all the TV movies and all the guest star roles. And I didn't even get to audition for that. And meanwhile, Katie Kurtzman and everybody else is doing all these 800 things. Are going, I just wanted the steady gig with the regular check would be
Right.
totally the thing. But you did. You went from the scruffy little boy to the kind of like troubled teen, and then you were kind of the bad guy. You're villainous in things from time to time.
I was, although in between that, I did a number of after school specials as well. And
Which I always wanted to do an after school special. It was hard to get.
it would have been amazing. But you had
Right.
that solid job on the
I
prairie.
was busy.
But in those after school specials, I seem to have had a lot of the boy next door, the nicer, before I got into the criminal roles, I seem to have a little kinder disposition to my characters I play.
Oh, there's a lovely picture of you there.
Yeah, that
See,
was,
you're
oh,
adorable.
oh God. I was John Denver and Terry Gar's son.
And you did huge movies. You were in Up the Sandbox with Barbara Streisand, for heaven's
Mhm,
sakes.
mhm. Yeah. And okay, that's the Barbara Eden show. I played her son,
Oh,
so a very short-lived show post Jeannie. When she got out of the bottle,
I
she
love Barbara Eden.
apparently she
Barbara Eden's
raised a
very
family.
nice.
What's that?
I love Barbara Eden. She's very nice.
I love her so much. She's very, very, very sweet.
Very sweet
What,
person.
what else are we looking
Oh, are you
at?
is this from some of your criminal past or what is this?
No, it only looks like it. That's Fran Drescher and Jay Leno and myself. We did a film called American Hot Wax.
American Hot Wax. It was a
It
great
was
movie.
a period piece, and I played the president of the Buddy Holly fan club. Lorraine Newman was also in that. Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis. I love that movie. You know what happened in that movie? It was very underrated. It was a solid film. It was beautifully shot by an Academy Award winning DP. But there was all this music, and the music rights got sticky. And when it came time, for I guess it was Paramount to get that film out into DVD for rentals, they couldn't. So
I've
that's
seen
why so
that
many people
before. There was
weren't able to see that movie because it would have cost, King's ransom just to put the movie out.
I've seen that before. There was some, I can't remember what they had one song that was somehow weirdly not on the DVD. They like play something else like that's weird.
Oh,
Oh, they couldn't get that one song on the
yeah.
DVD.
I've
And
I've
so, but
heard
if
of
a
that.
movie that's all rock and roll, what do you do if they're all, yeah,
The whole movie is wall to
the whole
wall
movie.
50s music. Yeah. And they couldn't free all that music up for the release of anything. So a lot of people haven't seen that film.
Ooh, it was very good.
Ooh.
Yeah, you were in the damnedest things. This is up the same. Oh wait, you played Mickey Rooney. Speaking, you were doing child
Yeah.
stars. You then played the iconic ultimate child star. You actually played Mickey Rooney in a whole Judy Garland Mickey Rooney biopic
Yeah.
thing, right? Rainbow. Yeah.
Rainbow. Yeah. It was directed by Jackie Cooper. And
Perfect.
yeah, so Judy Garland was played by Andrea McArnold at the time. She starred on Broadway in Annie.
Right.
And
So that's great. You got Jackie Cooper, and then you got Annie, and then you got Judy Garland. Yeah, Mickey. You have that's kind of a child actor vortex of some kind.
yeah. And Andrea McArnold and I used to drive around the Paramount lot on a golf cart, just completely getting into trouble. And like, where were you guys? You got to get on the. Yeah, that was my memory of that. But I also was taken to some really seedy movie theaters late at night where they were playing old Mickey Rooney movies to study up on him. Cool. And yeah, that was really cool.
Oh,
yeah.
So you said you had a master child. Now, as you said, your mom put you into it, and you have siblings and everything. Was it a thing? Everyone has their different child actor story. There's the people who are like, practically at gunpoint march to the audition, and then there's the people who are like, please, can I be on TV, and everything in between. Were you like, yes, this is a cool idea, I'm in the car, let's go audition, or where were you with that?
You know what? At the very, very beginning, I was just taken. I think I was 5. So I was taken in a car to auditions, so I didn't really get to voice how I felt about it. I didn't even know how I felt about it. And then so early on, there's a film I did called The War Between Men and Women with Jack Lemmon. I was his son. And
another great movie, by the way. I see. That's why I'm like, oh my God.
You saw that film?
Jealous. Yes. These were all great. The 70s was a fabulous movie period.
Oh, yeah. And
I saw everything.
I remember more about when I was, let's say I can see my little head up there, how I was that age than I can remember stuff from 3 weeks ago. So we got flown to my guardian and I, because my mom never went with me on to, we got flown on a TWA first class flight to New York. They put little mints on the hotel pillows. I go to the set. Jack Lemmon and Barbara Harris were just, and Jason Robards were just great people. You know, that we all became like a movie family for the weeks that we were shooting. And I remember a specific scene watching Jack Lemmon rehearse. I'm like, he's speaking like he's actually saying these things in real life, but I know that's in the script.
Nice.
And it was like a moment where I really got what acting was to never let them catch you act. You know, let them think you're actually doing this. I know that's obvious, but when I was a kid, I'm like, wow, I want to do that.
And Jack Lemmon was a master of that, of being so completely in the character that you just believed that he was natural. Whoever he said he was. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, he was so natural. And of course he was funny, Some Like It Hot and all these things, but there was a film he did called Save the Tiger. I'm pretty sure he either won an Oscar or was nominated for it. He was a really, really solid dramatic actor. But yeah, that was when I remember going, oh, okay. It's not just mommy, look, I got a balloon. Okay, bye, Tommy, go off, you know, so they can show that there's a kid in the family or whatever. And that's when I realized, oh, I want to be doing this. So then I was all about it. I was all about, you know, auditions, what they meant, what could come out of it. And then how exciting it was when you find out you're going to be on the Bob Newhart show or something like that, you know, and then how to deal with the disappointment of that role that you really, really wanted and you didn't get. But it was always cool because it was a tight knit, us child actors, you know, wasn't that huge of a group. So I usually knew the person who got it.
It was a little clear. Like I said, Katie Kurtzman. It was like in every. There was like people were in everything. All this. And the Shea brothers. How many Shea brothers are there really?
Eric Shea, right?
Shea, Mike Shea, Michael Shea,
Michael Shea, yeah.
Michael Shea, Eric Shea. We had a couple of them on Little House, and I remember it was Eric Shea who was doing like Johnny Johnson, and I remember as my mother who said, "It's another Shea brother. Are they breeding them in a lab? Yeah. There's always another Shea." They said,
don't add water.
Audition is a Shea.
They multiplied. I did a film with Eric Shea and Katie Kurtzman. Actually, now that you mentioned both those people, yeah. It's called When Every Day Was the 4th of July.
Another huge. That was awesome. That was another one that was like, oh, I want to be that.
Now, Katie, if you remember, do you remember an actress named Pamela Ferdin?
Oh my God, yes. I mean,
right?
That was like, okay, the people who I would go to auditions and go, oh, am I up against her? I'm leaving. Pamela Ferdin and Jodie Foster. It's like, oh, well, I'll just go home because they're like, it's like you'd lose the parts of Jodie Foster and you couldn't be mad.
Right. Well, yeah, Jodie Foster.
Yeah, what was I going to do? Yeah. But yeah, Pamela Ferdin. Oh my God, she was at everything. Yes, love Pamela.
Pamela Ferdin and Katie Kurtzman there were more, but they were like the criers. They could on cue. Like I've seen it. Like, wow. You know, we were just joking around. Oh, well, okay, time to set up, get up, ready, roll, bawling. It's a skill. I mean, you know, we all had to cry in our career, you know, our acting careers.
Well, I was on Little House, the great cry fest of all time. Yeah. Like 7 people cried per episode or something. And it was interesting because we had people who were insta criers and then people who weren't. I'm not an insta crier. I can, you know, go old method and work something up for you. But but there were people who would like, oh, am I crying in the scene? Okay. And like the tears start rolling, like nothing is happening. Like it's like suddenly, how are you doing that? Yeah. It's like it had a switch, like water to my, and then there were people who were like, okay, give me a minute. And then I cry. But yeah, the insta criers are amazing. It's a specific skill. And some people just go, and like stuff is pouring out of their face. I don't know how they do.
Well, everyone had their own process, and you know, some would take longer than others. Speaking of criers and Little House, I just spoke to Matthew Laberto last night.
Yes.
Yeah, Albert. Yeah.
He's awesome. And then he was a great crier. Man,
I was going to say he did a lot of crying on Little.
Fantastic crier. He's all the best criers are.
Yeah, you had a whole Village full of criers.
And of course we had Katie, and Katie, that was when she was the stuttering girl, and I tortured her, and she
Right.
cried a lot in that episode.
I think that you were very mean to her. I don't think you should have treated her that way.
I was real. That's the episode. The episode where I pick on Katie for stuttering is the episode I call the "Even I Hate Me" episode.
You know,
it was so awful.
That's funny. I mentioned this when I was in the studio with you not long ago, but like you were just, I mean, you are such a good actor. And I was intimidated when I was doing an episode of Little House, thinking,
yeah, that's right. Everyone, he wasn't an episode of Little House and Highway to Heaven. It was the one where Ma almost cuts off her leg. It was that one. I mean, he wasn't
yeah,
there when she almost cut off her leg, but he's in that
yeah.
episode.
But I was intimidated. Like you were that convincing. And why isn't there? This is what we need to do. There needs to be a Where Are They Now type, not a Where Are They Now, but a spinoff called Oh Nellie, and it's just you. And where is she now? And who is she beating up now? And who is she buying out now?
Right. My friends tease me about how many Where Are They Now shows. They're like, where are you not? You're on these, where are they? She's here, she's still here, and she's still here again.
But I didn't mean where are you now? I mean, like, where's Nellie?
What does Nellie be doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, that gets complicated because then you have the real Nellie that was 3 different people, and then she would be married to Henry Curry and living in Tillamook, Oregon.
Right.
So, yeah, the whole the historical line, and then the book line, and the TV plot line. It's like it gets like those weird comic books where they have multiple backstories. It's like one of those.
Right. What a great show. What a great show.
That's the thing. Everybody who wasn't on, it's like, oh man, I wanted to be on that it was good.
Can I ask you? So I have a feeling. So, like Henry Winkler had a little role in Happy Days early, and then they went, oh, whoa. Get in the writing room for this guy, and let's bolster his character up. I feel like
he walked on and it blew up.
The story is when you came on that show, I don't know if you were just supposed to come in for 1 or 2 and be a bully or whatever, and they just kind of, holy cow, we've got to get.
Nellie was big in the books. In fact, it was an interesting thing. When Laura wrote Banks of Plum Creek, and Nellie was a character in that, and was very mean, she thought, okay, and then we left Walnut Grove, and Nellie's family left Walnut Grove, and the Eagles left Walnut Grove. I'm moving on, and then we go to South Dakota. She was getting letters going, what happened to Nellie? We need more Nellie. She was like, oh my God. So luckily there was a terrible girl in the town in South Dakota, Genevieve Masters, and she went, fine, I'm going to say that was Nellie, that Nellie just showed up there and all that stuff Genevieve did. I'll say that because people were clamoring for Nellie in the 1930s. So there was something about that character. And when I was signed, they said, oh yeah, you're signed for the 7 years because you're Nellie, and that's a regular thing with Laura. But she was, she started, they took stuff from the books like Town Party Country Part. It was fairly awful, but they were like, okay, she's going to be about this awful, and she's going to come and do this. And I like to say, even at the time, I said, and now I Fonzied the hell out of that. I did. I came out and they said, okay, she's going to be this awful. And I went, well, what if I was this awful? And I came out and I delivered, and they went, oh, well, that's quite something. Well, hey, let's write an episode where this happened. Let's see what she does if we give her this. Okay. And then it became like a poker game. I'll see you and raise you until next thing you know, I'm going down a hill in a wheelchair.
Right.
It was a war of escalation, and it worked out really well. But yeah, right. I kind of took it and ran with it and went bananas, and it worked out. It really worked out.
I had a feeling that's what happened. You Fonzied it.
I did. Yeah. I was like, this is a really good character. So yeah, no, it's when you get that kind of thing, it's like, oh man, I have struck gold here. Do you have a character that you did as an actor, child or adult, where you felt like, okay, this one, I'm nailing it here. This is a character I'd like to be playing?
I did, but there were pilots that didn't sell, like multi-camera sitcom pilots.
So many of the pilots, like,
yeah,
it's gonna be that.
There's one pilot I just loved the character. I just wanted him to live. I just wanted to be with him for a good 5 seasons. Would have been nice. Yeah, but and then there's other things I did that were. What's that?
Did you do the thing with auditions when I was a little kid? Because I started again going. I think I was starting to go to auditions as a baby. I think because my whole family were working, so they were like, I was auditioning for stuff as an infant, and I didn't get them. I didn't start working until I was 5, 6 years old, and I didn't get steady work till 12. It was just terrible. But I was starting really, really early, and I went to auditions all the time. And what I quickly found, because you go and no, you didn't get it, and you didn't get that one either. Oh, you got this one, but you didn't get this one or this one or this one. And if you're going to how many, remember sometimes you'd get picked up after school and you'd have two or more auditions. You'd like get multiple auditions a week. You might have two in a day.
Yes.
I quickly learned, like by the time I was like 7 or 8, and that's actors who didn't learn it till they were in their 30s. I literally, once I was done, I would walk out of the room, and it was almost like it hadn't happened.
Yeah, you just
I
let
would
it
like
go.
walk away, and people would go, "How'd the audition go?" And I go, "I'm not really sure. Which one? Oh, that one. No, I completely forgot about it, because if I remember them all, I will go insane. I will
Yeah.
go clinically insane if I actually try to like hang on to all these auditions when it was that many."
Well, of course, and hopefully you learned this. It sounds like you did. You learned this early on. Is that so? When you didn't get a role, sometimes it has nothing to do with your skill ability. It's because they've already cast the mom and dad, and they have different color hair, or they just don't look
That's
that
the
much
big
like them.
one.
So it's
That was
not
the
as
big one. As a
personal.
child actor, you can be brilliant in a family of brunettes.
Yeah, and it's not as personal as you want to take it at the time.
You're taller than the kid who's playing your older sister.
Right. Right.
My father, who was a manager, used to actually had a song he made. He would sit there and go, "You're too short, you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too old, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that." And he would like sing that, "You're too this, you're too that," haha, and like laugh, because he said that's what it is. It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you don't look like the woman they cast as your mother." It's like, you don't freaking know why. It's in, yeah.
Yeah. You could also somehow your look could remind them of somebody they know in their lives who they had a negative experience with. It has nothing to do with you. They're like, oh,
That was in my early 20s, like the casting or the director's ex-girlfriend. Like,
mhm.
oops. Yeah, you look like his ex-girlfriend. Bye, out.
I don't want to be reminded of her the whole time we're shooting. So no, her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a horror when that happens. But yeah,
Yeah.
and people who are in show business don't realize how insane and random things can be. You do your absolute best, but then it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. 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 There's so much that's out of your hand. You prepare and give it your best shot, but not everything is in your hands. You have to have a little luck, or it's got to be fate. Otherwise, you'll go crazy if you
You'll hurt
just
yourself. Your brain will explode. And then, how did you transition to directing? Now, when I do this thing, I always say this is sort of revenge for the thousands of times I've been interviewed since I was a small child. Now I get to interview people. Did you become director? Was like revenge. Now I get to, or was it just something like this? This is what I want to do. Yes. How
It
did
was
that come about?
early on. I used to be so fascinated by whoever the director was. I would follow he or she around and just see what they're doing and why. And I'd also, fortunately, I was cognizant not to like always like tap shoulders. How come you didn't do that? I'll just quietly, I wouldn't ask questions, until eventually when I got older, they're like, "Hey, you want to know how this is done?" And I'm sure. And I'd look through the lens and all that. But I was always so fascinated by the process. And I loved acting. I loved finding the scene, the arcs in the scene and all that stuff. And I realized at one point in my life, I can still do that without being in front of the camera, without being an actor. It's direct.
Well, that's a convenient thing too, because as we also know with Hollywood, it's so insane. They suddenly decide, well, we've had enough of you, or well, we love you, but oh, are you over 40? Well, we've decided we don't want you over
Yeah.
40. We liked you when you were 22. They pick whatever it is. Your hair's another color, and so it's like, what else you got? And that's what directing is, a handy thing, because it uses all your skills, and they don't bother you about what you look like.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And you could, especially non-location jobs like a multi-camera sitcom or something like that. You can be 90 years old and sit in your chair and direct that. So that's not why I went into it. But I see your point, though. You're right. Like all these considerations for actors are thrown out the window, So I just kind of wanted to do it. I just felt it felt more interesting to me, even though acting is tremendously interesting. Just the whole process. I just wanted to be in the pool and find scenes and find characters, find their way. And I love collaborating in that. So yeah.
So your approach as a director, and you said collaborating, because everybody has different approaches as a
Mhm.
director, you see it as a collaboration with the actors.
Well, absolutely, because I don't think anyone any one person has all the answers. And with any luck, you've surrounded yourself by very creative, talented people. Now, as a director, you're going to be the last one to go, okay, we're going to use that idea. You get to, you get to actually shape the whole thing. But I've always been a big believer in the best idea wins. Forget your ego. Let's work for the show. The better scene, the better show, the better film, the whatever, just work for the best product. So if an actor says, hey, what if she does this? And I'm like, oh, that's good. Yes. You have to be approachable. You have to let them know ahead of time you're a collaborator, because so many directors aren't and don't want to.
They're just like, this is what we're doing. And that's a nice thing. Is all the really good shows, movies, they are ones where if you have some fabulous idea, they might like I said, Little House. If you brought something, if it was really good, you were discouraged from randomly ad-libbing and going crazy. But if you threw something out and went, wait, what was that? Oh, I like that. If it worked, like I said, Jonathan Gilbert was, who played Willie, was our greatest ad-libber. All his ad-libs wound up being kept because he would do stuff, and poor Mary continuity be going, that's not in here. And Michael go, wait, what? Oh, I like it. Write it down. What he said.
Right.
And what the best one was, I said, I'm smashing the dollhouse in Bunny, and he had one more line before he's supposed to run out of the room. And he didn't say it. Just did this line, and then he bolted. And Mary said, he had another line. Because Michael had gone like, oh, cut print. That was great. I said, what do you mean he had another line? He looked at the script, and he looked at John, and he looked at the script, and he looked at me and said, she was coming at me with that hairbrush. I don't think I'd have stayed around to say another line. I think I would have left. I think he's right. So those were always great. And you hear about Anthony Hopkins, when he, did Hannibal Lecter, obviously, he arrived with all sorts of ideas. He's like, could I be standing? Could I be doing this? What if my hair was this? And luckily the director was like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So, if someone has an idea and it's a good idea, you're like, yeah, run with it.
Sure. Director's looking over the whole product. And the actors, if they're any good, they're always looking, at their character. So Mr. Hopkins probably thought of something that, maybe didn't just cross the mind of the director. Jonathan Demme, I guess. You've gotta collaborate. But you also have to be able to say, thanks, but no, I don't think so. You have to be able to do that.
And we had a lot of that on Little House too. Yeah, that's great. No, just do the thing in the script. Thanks. Yeah.
Right. Well,
rein it in, people.
A common expression would be, we're going to bank that idea. Maybe
we'll try that in another episode. We'll do. Now, did you in becoming a director, did you say, well, I'm going to go back to school? Did you say, no, these are what I'm using? Did you work with another director? How did you transition? I mean, there's people who go to film school and become directors. I mean,
like I've said, I've always paid attention. There's really no experience like experience. You just kind of got to somehow. And if you can get in there, it's lucky. I was doing a show. I was on a show for 5 seasons, and I wasn't going to come back for the final season, or for the 5th season rather. And for various reasons, I wasn't one of those people who just leave a good job, and I ran into, at the time he was the associate producer of the show. I ran into him out in the world away from work, and he said, hey, I hear you're not coming back for this season 5. I said, yeah, my agent and I talked about it, and maybe best. He's like, I really want you back. Is there anything, we don't really have more money in the budget or anything. Is there anything we can do to get you back? And I just, on a whim, just went, well, I'd love to direct the show. That would bring me back. And he's like, let me talk to them. So that's how it happened. It was a series of phone calls after that, back and forth. Uh-oh, you're muted. Where's my glasses? I don't know. Does that mean no? I'm having trouble hearing you, Alison.
Did you go mute? Can you hear me? Because I can't.
I can hear you now.
Oh, now you're back. It was really weird. It just suddenly, I didn't touch anything. It went, it mute. It sometimes the wind blows and then it goes mute. But that's there are actors. I mean, that's how Michael Landon started. He was on Bonanza, like, oh, maybe I could direct an episode.
Right. Yeah, it was lucky. It was a lucky thing for me. It was the right time for me, because they wanted me back, which was really, really flattering and all that. So Yeah. So I directed an episode of that, and that got me into the DGA, and then I went
Which
on.
show was that? Which show did you start directing on?
This was a Disney Channel show called Kids Incorporated, where
Oh, Kids
I was.
yeah, yeah.
So it was Fergie and Mario Lopez and Jennifer Love Hewitt and Martika and a bunch of sweet people. Yeah, but I wasn't. It was a children's show, but I was the only grown up on the show. I was running. I was kind of like Arnold from Happy Days, or the Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell. Like I was the the one with the moral of the story at the end, and delivering the message. But yeah, so um that happened, and then I just went and just doing my own thing, short films and stuff, and then I directed Reba, and then a pilot called The Peacemaker, and I did a full season of a show on Comedy Central.
Nice.
And yeah, and some various other things. And I'm going to Toronto to direct an episode of this new Netflix show.
Are you going to Toronto? Are you allowed to say what the show is? A lot of
Yeah. Well, it has a working title. I wonder if I could say the working title.
I don't, or yes, because they're secret, a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a supernatural thing.
Cool.
It has to do with fangs, but I'm also superstitious. Like if it's not fully in ink, I'm like,
not until the film is in the can, as we used to say.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
until the film is in the can and the check clears. It's yeah, exactly.
It's a done deal, but it's really never done until you actually wrap the final day.
On the screen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so bad. And then you're directing theater, which is marvelous. And now, of course, theater in LA is a whole weird scene. We talked about that like theater in LA, it's not like theater in New York, because people do theater in LA and go, oh, well, I got a real job. I have to leave.
Right. I know I love theater. I just love doing theater, done a bunch of plays and doing one right now, or we're almost, we're 3 weeks or away from finishing this one.
Right. This is incredible, the whole Archie and Mehitable thing, which we had you on for with the gang there because it was amazing. And I did see it after I got to interview and loved it. But I'm as I said, a big Archie and Mehitable nerd who's like actually into that.
Yeah. And thank you for coming to opening night. But even if you weren't an Archie and Mehitable fan, you probably would have been there just to see Carolyn Hennessy. Because
Carolyn Hennessy eating a mouse and among other things. And well, of course, also the lightning, but your lightning bug.
Oh, Richard Horvitz.
Yeah, Horvitz is a lightning bug. And then was it Kelly who's the fly?
Kelly Stables. Yeah. Okay, so and then Bill Cott, and of course Dan Gilbazan, who's created this adaptation of Don Marquis's work, and as one of the stars, the main star, basically, of this.
As the cockroach, as Archie. I was trying to think. There's a couple moments where wait, he reminds me of someone, and it was in the quiet moments. There was actually a weird Robin Williams kind of vibe going on.
From Dan?
Yeah.
I could see that.
Like wacky Robin Williams, like quiet Robin Williams.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see how he kind of looks like him.
Yeah. There was totally like this is like a weird Robin Williams, but that's that vibe I'm getting. It was just amazing. It was the collection of people, but everyone was just absolutely full out off the charts craziness. It was
if anyone directs theater or anything, I highly suggest surrounding yourself by really talented actors, because it made it so much better and so much easier.
Yeah.
They're just especially Richard. Richard's he's kooky, like he is off the charts, nuts, in a great way.
Yeah, I was like sobbing, hilarious stuff like that. Yeah, I just loved it so much. Now there was loose talk of it getting extended, because you've only got 3 more. You have like this Saturday, you have like 3 more shows, and maybe hoping.
Yeah, there's a little chatter about getting extended because ticket sales are good. We're full, and we only have 3 more houses. So the producer's telling me they have more people who want to see it than what's available. So
that's how shows get extended.
That's how, yeah. Yeah, you don't extend when you don't have there's no demand for.
No, no, that would be awesome because it's a great show and everyone in it is just so good. That would be
Thank
lovely.
you.
But
Thank
no, you've directed a bunch of theater. I saw you got Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in there. You
you.
did your Tennessee Williams stint.
That,
Was that
yeah,
awesome?
I paid my dues for the Tennessee Williams thing. Yeah, we
Got to
did
pay you
that.
Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, that one I was really proud of. Again, you get good people. Get good people because once that curtain goes up, you may have directed the whole thing, but now you got to sit back and trust and watch
Right,
the
'cause
stuff.
now they're running loose and you're just backstage and you can't stop them. So,
Absolutely. You're just hoping they apply everything we worked on in front of the audience, you know. But yeah, let's see, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and God of Carnage and Lend Me a Tenor and Hound of the Baskervilles. I love theater. I love all those plays. Yeah, I love
what do
originals though. Even though I did Tennessee Williams and God of Carnage and all that, the current one is I love an original piece. I'm a
you
little
think
more
the
interested.
original one's great? Now, do you find what would you say? Because everyone was asking the difference between directing TV or film versus directing theater. I mean, they asked all those actors that. What do you find is different in directing it? Do you find there's a difference?
There's definitely a lot of differences. Well, for one, you know, we can put a microphone right here under your, you know, so you can kind of play it right here. In the theater, there's people who pay full price to sit up at that back row, you know. So there's
Unless you're on Broadway and mic to the eyeballs, yeah,
yeah,
in
yeah.
regular LA theater, yeah, it's going to be high. You're going to project like the old days.
But it's still even in there, you know, there's it's a on Broadway, it's a huge house. So the delivery is more expressive, so it can read throughout the house as opposed to underplayed, you know, on camera, which is right here. So, but let's just say, for instance, the because I love comedy, I love doing comedies. There really is little or no difference between sitcom and a comedic piece of theater. As far as funny's funny if it's done right, no matter where you're at, whether they're
Right, and now it's right. Sitcoms, a three-camera sitcom, is done like a play. You have a studio
it is.
audience, etc. So, and that's why so many theater back in the olden days, in the '60s and
Mhm.
'70s, we'd watch sitcoms. Half the people who would hope be the lead player would be someone from Broadway.
Yeah,
You know, you might have
yeah,
people from TV and people from movies didn't cross over much, but you had all these Broadway stars who would come out to LA and get a three-camera sitcom because it was like doing a play.
right. Well, it's funny you said that. Yes, absolutely. And I remember working. I was when I was an actor. I was directed by the great late Bonnie Franklin. One day,
Exactly who I was
yeah.
thinking of.
Oh
Bonnie
yeah.
Franklin coming in and doing one day at a time. Exactly.
Well, she would always say, you know, after the break was over, okay, let's go work on our play. You know, we're doing a TV show. She would always call it a play.
Play.
Oh yeah, yeah. And she was good. She was very good.
Yeah, she would know. Yeah, hello. Oh,
Yeah.
so this is just fine. So what else do you have? You have Toronto. You have a something spooky for Netflix. We can't say what it is. Yay, love that.
Mhm.
And then maybe the cockroach and the alley cat are getting extended here. We don't know. We don't know,
Yes.
but that could be very cool. What else? Do you have more plays coming up? What do you got?
Well, I looks like I'll also be doing a Hallmark movie, one of those romantic.
Oh, is it? One of the like the Christmas things?
It, this
Oh,
one is not a Christmas thing,
oh, not a
but I mean,
Christmas.
but it's like it's a Hallmark movie. You know,
They're
it's
kind of the same.
warm and cozy and safe, happy
Sick
ending.
person visits a small town, decides to stay.
Yes,
Have
yes,
you seen there's a thing online like create your own Hallmark movie and it's like six plots and five characters
yeah.
just like with the
It usually ends up with her falling in love with the barista with a heart of gold, as opposed
with
to
the
the rich, you know.
plaid shirt and the muscles. She ditches
Yeah,
the boring guy in the city, gets the earthy, good country man. And yeah,
with a
yeah, yeah.
big heart. Yeah.
At Christmas, we go to Bob's family's place in Tennessee, and downstairs there's like two TVs going, and one has Lifetime and one has Hallmark with all the Christmas movies just on like 24 hours. So you sort of wander around the house and go, "Wait, have I seen this one?" Like pick which
Well,
one.
you probably have, even if you haven't. Yeah, they're
I
kind of
love this. I love this.
there's a nice niche for those movies though. I mean, people love them. They're still how many have they done? I mean, who know for years they've been doing.
Hundreds? I don't know. And then sometimes you do that thing, we'll do Christmas in July and just start running them around the year and
Oh,
stuff.
do they?
Run them. they'll run them randomly through the year. They'll say, and this week is Christmas. Like, okay. But yeah, I do. I watch them. When it's Christmas, I'm hanging out and I'm going, oh, let's see, which one are we watching tonight? And you get caught up in it and go, oh, I know this one. Oh, yes. Oh, and the Jingle Bells. No, and they lost the reindeer. And
yeah. And the end of the show, the tree lights up and the families are holding their, and then they all hug and everything. But that's
and
a
and a lot of sweaters and yeah.
We have a fair amount of violence and craziness going on, so that's a nice balance.
There's plenty of that. So yeah, you can get the Killing on one channel and the Hallmark on the other.
Right. Oh my gosh, I'm watching Dahmer right now.
Are you with our friend? With Michael Learned, okay, but Mrs. Walton as grandma. And she talked about that when interviewed. She said, I thought about what I would do if one of my children or grandchildren said, oops, I've killed someone. Like, what would I do? I would think none of my children would do that, but I guess everyone thinks that, and probably his grandmother thought that too. And oops, what do you do when you just realize your grandchild's mom?
I know. First of all, I'm only in episode 4, so he kills people. You're going to spoil it with me like that?
A little bit.
She's great. She's really, she's great. Also, Bill Codd, who's in my play right now, is in this.
Oh my God,
but he's like down the road in episode 8, I think he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they've done it's a thing. It's obviously, yes, there's also things about that are disturbing, but they've also kind of shown for people who weren't there at the time that the number of times the police crossed paths with him and went, oh yeah, have a good night, and missed the chance to stop him. And it's how frustrating were ignored, and now this sort of gives a little voice to some of these other people who tried to stop him. It's so as ghastly as it is, there's that.
I know you're watching it, going, take him in now. Like he was good, he got pulled over. Get him out. Think about how many lives would have been saved.
Right.
Horrible. But if you can detach yourself from that and just kind of enjoy the performances, and it is a real life story. So,
I hear it is just brilliant. I'm hearing everyone, and it is just really, really great.
Yeah. Dark. You won't see that on the Hallmark Channel.
No. And that's the thing. I'm both. I will watch stuff that is just so dark and disturbing and terrible. And then I want my cartoons, and then I want like the Hallmark. I want both. I want to be able to have both. I want to have one channel where it's like, oh, and it's an autopsy show. What would that? And then I want another channel where it's like, look, butterflies. I want there to be all of these things.
Yeah. You need a glass of milk to smooth out all that other nice, cozy, friendly, lovable show. Yeah.
Now, where do people find you if they want? Because I said you're not Mr. Giant social media dude.
No, I know. If you remember when
Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah, Facebook. I mean, I have an Instagram account and Twitter, but I'm honestly I've intentionally, since I don't really promote myself, or I just kind of, and I'm raising my son, and I just thought a while back, I'm like, I'm just gonna
Yeah, I looked just like he posted several years ago.
Yeah.
It's like he's not on here.
Because I feel like it's just a rabbit hole I'm going to fall down in, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time where I could have learned to speak French in the time I spent on Instagram or Twitter.
Your IMDb, they can read all about you on your IMDb and see what you're doing, and they can see you on Facebook. And you will tell us on Facebook when you know the names of all of your movies, when you're allowed to say that they're happening.
Yeah. I will. Let's see. No, I'm not going to toy with it. Let's just say the word "fang" is in the title.
Okay. We'll just go with that.
Yeah.
But well, I'm looking forward to it. And the next thing, amazingly, it is I think we have a minute and a half left. I can't believe that just blew by there. That's massive. I just loved everything you do, and yes, obviously I love the play. That's well, you saw it was I didn't even call you. I just started promoting, going, hey, Moosie is directing this show. It's I was so excited.
So let me ask you real quick, since you have a little bit of time. So you're going off to do some theater. Are you allowed to talk about that?
I think so. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to be heading to North Carolina. I guess I suppose it was when you, as I say, check clear, so except not filming the can. I guess when I'm boarding the plane. But yes, I'm back. I'm back on stage. Good back on stage. I have a bunch of weird stuff coming up. I mean, I'm doing a couple of the autography things, but there's actually a couple of theatrical extravaganzas over the next few months that may be happening, including in LA. We don't know yet. And then, but yes, I it looks like I will be off to North Carolina, probably to be British at Evil. But there you are.
To play evil. You're not going to be evil.
Evil. But I am good at it. I like that. I enjoy that.
But it was so refreshing to grow up and meet you and now know you, for the years I've known you now. And like, oh my God, you're like one of the sweetest people. And I was legitimately intimidated by you.
I did a play years ago, and the guy who was opposite in the play, before we could like start rehearsing, he's like, we have to talk, because he was a couple years younger than me, and he said, you were like a big girl who could have beaten me up, and I was terrified of you when I was like 9. So he had to like officially meet me and not be terrified anymore so we could go on with the scene.
Yeah. I don't know, for me, if it was the beat me up thing, it was worse. It was like, she'll humiliate me.
There's that.
Like, there's that. Who's this new kid on our show this week? What's your name? Moosie? What kind of name is that?
And I could have been like that, like when guests came on the show. So, think you can guest on our show? Can you imagine if I'd been like that? Like, great, that would have been so weird.
Yeah.
Welcome wagon. I was like, oh hi.
I'm sure. Funny. Well, we didn't get to do a scene together when I was on Little House.
Yeah, I know we did not get to be in the thing. You were one of those like poor people's little boys. Yes,
Yeah.
lived in shacks. One of the shacks.
Well, I lived in a shack with my dad and returned the Ingalls cow.
You returned a cow. And the thing is, people who are diehard fans are going, oh my God, yes, the kid who returned the cow. They're like,
really?
Right away. They're like, oh, is he the one? Somebody actually said, is he the one who did such and such, or is he the one who returned the cow on my Facebook when I said you're coming on? Yes. Is he the one who returned the cow?
That, because it was such a small guest role. That's crazy.
People, they pay attention to these things. Well, you are fabulous. Thank you again.
Alison.
I can say I've had you on, I guess, one and a fifth time, because you were shared with the others, and then I finally got through to have you on, because yes, your just whole career has been fabulous and fascinating. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Alison.
This is the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim, and thank you, Moosie Drier.
Thank you.